This is going to be game 2 of the elimination round between Ciez and Ciez and Siberian versus Sarantini and Chukonoku. This is going to be Sarantini and Chukonoku's last chance to stay in the tournament. If they lose this game, they will be eliminated. We will see that this game, factions have of course been switched. Now Siberian and Ciez playing as allies, and we're actually going to see Siberian playing as US forces. Wow. So up until this point, I've only seen Siberian play as Ostherr and Soviets. So this will be a first in the tournament to see Siberian playing as the Americans, and we'll see if he's able to make that work. And it looks like they're actually going to be up against double Oberkommando West from Sarantini and Chukonoku, which I am not as surprised by, certainly. We do have Stern Pioneers moving here towards the munitions. Chukonoku going with what looks like Volksgrenadiers into Kuba wagons, so I think that's a double Kuba wagon. Yes, double Kuba wagon, exact same build from both of these players, which certainly makes sense because you need the extra mobility to be able to harass or take or deny the fuel on the outer flanks of the map. Stern Pioneers moving to grab the munitions here. These Stern Pioneers grabbing the strategic point before moving down to grab this fuel. We also have rear echelon troops vaulting the fence. Certainly Maxims don't perform all that well in that area, and Siberian certainly loves Maxims, so maybe that was part of his motivation to go with a faction that can vault. Vaulting is good on this map in the south base, no doubt about that. Stern Pioneers unfortunately do flank around the other side, and those rear echelon troops aren't going to stand a chance, especially once the Kuba wagon arrives. Volksgrenadiers grabbing the victory point to follow up. Meanwhile, up here there's a scout car from Ciez. No surprise there. Looks like he's going to go with his standard scout car, sniper build. There's one of the snipers is already being produced, so he should have no problem dealing with the Kuba wagon. Already taking out one Stern Pioneer model, and we actually have a rifle squad from Siberian moving up to support, so it looks like the Allies have no intention of even pushing the bottom. And they should be able to win the middle and north without too much trouble, as long as they don't make any big mistakes. Since it looks like Sarantini doesn't really intend on responding to the double team, instead he's just going to continue to harass and cap here in the south and build some defenses.
This territory is ours.
Also worth noting, I think so far every single game where Oberkommando West have been on the right side base, we've seen battle group headquarters get constructed right here. So I'm wondering if Sarantini is thinking about doing the same thing, or even his teammate thinking about doing the same thing. It's been shown to work quite well, but we'll see what they choose to do. We do have riflemen harassing the munitions point here. Kuba wagon moving up. Riflemen will be getting suppressed and will be forced to take up a position in the house. Volksgrenadiers move around towards the middle.
Sniper now available for duty.
Ciez a sniper and scout car making their way towards the center victory point to combat the Kuba wagon.
You need something demolished?
Rifleman taking up a position in this building, actually. Although, yeah, he changed his mind pretty quickly. I think he knew that he had pretty much no chance of winning that engagement. He was going to be forced to retreat. These riflemen also falling pretty low at that range against those Volksgrenadiers. That Kuba wagon is a little bit exposed, but Ciez is not going in too hard. He's very safe with his scout cars. I've noticed it usually takes him quite a long time to lose both of those. He doesn't just fling himself into the enemy lines. In that situation, though, I think he probably could have gotten that Kuba wagon because there was not much around to defend. Some harassment happening up here for the north fuel. Siberian also sending us a lone rear echelon troop squad here towards the south, but those Stern Pioneers are probably going to head them off before they're really able to accomplish anything. Fuel cache going up from Siberian here as well. And if we take a look at Siberian's tech, we will see a lieutenant and his M20 hitting the field at the 5-minute 10-second mark. So that should, ooh, what was that? Oh wow, that Kuba wagon just hit a mine. Nice mine from CS there, taking out that Kuba wagon, freeing up a little room for his snipers to maneuver, and also putting a lot less pressure on his scout car to make any overly aggressive moves. There's still one more Kuba wagon left on the field, but there's really nothing defending it. Siberian could easily just dive it with his scout car, and there would be absolutely nothing to stop him from killing it. Especially against double over Commando West, there's no Panzerfaust. There's really no protection at all. I think it's dead. It actually gets a pretty nice burst off on those Volksgrenadiers, though. Yeah, there's really nothing that this Kuba wagon can do. Sarantini may as well just give up. His attention is better spent elsewhere. A little bit late to retreat those Stern Pios too, losing that model unnecessarily. There's the Puma though. The Puma does hit the field at 6 minutes 25 seconds, and it's going to be pretty much the exact same story here. With a Shrek in the building and a Puma chasing, I don't think there's any way that this utility car is going to be able to get away. Unfortunately, it's quite obvious that Siberian has not planted a mine anywhere. It looks like he's just going to try and get the crew out of the vehicle. But unfortunately, what is he doing? Ooh, looks like that utility car might get away stolen. Oh, the bazooka shot missed! And I think Sarantini's going to get away with this utility car. Oh no. That was a very nice steal. I think that was a bit of a mistake by Siberian, abandoning it so close to those Volksgrenadiers right there. He probably thought he'd be able to finish it off with the bazooka, but the bazooka shot missed at point blank range, which just goes to show that the bazooka is terrible. Seriously, it is so bad. Oh well, now the Axis have that utility car. That is a pretty serious blow. On the other hand, the Allies have quite good map control. Having taken control in the midst of all this of both munitions points, they have the top fuel. They're now taking control of the south fuel point and probably also victory point. The lack of the Panzerfaust really hurts the Commando against light vehicles. They're really just quite vulnerable. Quite vulnerable to them. So the Puma is of course going to solve that problem. Getting the utility car off the field probably be good to get the scout car off the field. But for the first just few minutes that the Allies had field domination, it really shows what an impact that had. Taking control of pretty much the entire map. Only now will the Axis be able to sort of push back, take a little territory back, and we can see Siberian building a lot of fuel caches here, falling into maybe a little bit early even to be falling into such a support role. He could probably be making a little bit more happen with manpower expenditures in other areas, but he just wants to get that fuel income going as soon as possible. Maybe we're going to see a Sherman rush, something like that. We will note that the Allies have 45 fuel coming in per minute, which is a massive fuel income. But if that Puma were to find these fuel caches, it would be able to destroy them pretty much unopposed, which can make that a kind of a dangerous proposition, especially against a nice aggressive Puma that's doing lots of scouting for things like caches and other things.
Airdrop runs now available.
Stern Pioneers getting pushed away, but the Allies will finish capturing the south area of the map, and he's actually going to retreat those rifles, so he's probably getting an ambulance soon or something. Or maybe he's just going to, yeah, he's just going to heal up at his teammates' medics.
Be ready.
Meanwhile, a bit of an engagement happening here in the middle is not going well for those Volksgrenadiers, getting picked off one by one by those snipers. G43s are actually going to try and close in on the snipers, and they're going to be forced to retreat. Looks like they're not even really going to take any damage.
Mass up! Listen carefully. The routes are taking one of our points. car!
And it's certainly no surprise to see Panzer Fusiliers on this map. I think we've seen them every single time that this map has been played. The Egg Tiger is, of course, massively popular. Shukonoku going with breakthrough tactics, and Sarantini has not picked his doctrine yet. His option, he's probably going to go special operations based on what I've seen of this team playing before. But I'm not sure. His fuel certainly isn't very high, so he's not really pressured to make a big decision as far as calling tank. I'm not sure what Shukonoku is doing with this truck. Just about every single game I've ever seen Shukonoku play, and he throws away his SWS half-tracks, and honestly, I just don't understand it. I know that he loves spamming Pumas, but he's just giving free veterancy away to his enemy. Although in this particular case, he's also getting a bunch of free fuel for himself, because his Stern Pioneers are right there, right nearby, and I think that's 5, but I guess I'm not 100% sure how much it gives you to salvage that thing. Trying to catch that Puma and get an anti-tank grenade on it, try and follow up with one of these AT guns, but unfortunately a pot smoke got to safety, no problem. We also have a Lux on the field, so we'll see what it's able to do. Makes a pretty good entrance on that lieutenant squad. Not sure it's gonna get away. Not even close to getting away. So that was quite a nice play there. Axis are actually in a nice position now. The Puma and the Lux combo doing quite nicely. The Stern Pioneer utility car certainly not doing bad either. That's Stern Pioneer, right? I think so. No, I'm not sure what model that is. No, it's not a Stern Pioneer. It's like, I think that might even be like a custom model or something. I don't know. Some kind of like special Axis utility car. It looks pretty awesome though.
Unit ready.
Ooh, that was a pretty nasty mine. Lux Grenadier being forced away. Looks like the Allies are kind of struggling a little bit, but they do have 3 fuel caches up. They've had a really high fuel income for a while. I'm not sure if I understand the motivation to go Jackson first, though. Jackson first, I mean, it's certainly a super hard counter to the Lux. Pretty good counter to the Puma, depending on positioning. It can be kind of dangerous. I think a Sherman would have made a lot more sense. A Sherman can counter pretty much everything on the field right now. Jackson might, if he attacks ground. Oh! Just barely misses the utility car there. Couldn't quite finish it off. Couldn't quite correct his own mistake from earlier, handing that vehicle over to the enemy.
Enemy movement on the flank.
And we've actually seen Siberian and Sias be in a pretty similar position on this map before, where they don't really seem to come into their own until around the mid-game, when their medium tanks start really hitting the field in large numbers. Sometimes it seems like they struggle around the 8 to 13 minute mark. I'm not sure why that. Well, in this particular case, I think it's because Siberian spent 600 manpower on fuel caches. But once the Shermans start really rolling out, I think that the situation could change dramatically. We also do have paratroopers with M1919s on the field, so those will definitely help to augment the Allied infantry forces.
Fallback position upgrade ready.
And unfortunately, the Axis vehicles can't be all that aggressive. They had a brief time when they really had dominance over the field, but unfortunately, they just didn't really hunt those snipers down. Out of a fear of mines, I think, primarily. Ooh. And now that there's a Jackson on the field, they've kind of lost their chance to be super aggressive. Siberian keeps on trying to use attack ground to snipe those vehicles, but it's just not working. Stupid firing. Ooh. A little off on the angle. Wasn't quite aimed quite in the sniper's retreat path there, and I don't think that Stuka Barrage even got any kills, sadly. No, it didn't. It did a little bit of damage. So yeah, Chukonoku goes he goes really hard into the mechanized regiment headquarters. He never seems to really tech up to late game units, just because Puma and Stuka. That's, I mean, nothing wrong with the Stuka certainly against what they're facing currently. Well, actually, I'm not even sure. I mean, there's not that many team weapons, and they're going to be fighting a lot of medium armor soon with all those fuel caches on the field. They may not necessarily know about all of the fuel caches, though. Siberian has made a Scott. Ooh.
Target captured. No enemy contact.
Paratroopers trying to take the point, but they're taking heavy damage. The Scott's doing a nice job of flushing those units out of green cover, though. It actually only has 2 kills because it's mostly just did damage there rather than inflicting losses. Oh, there's one. And this is actually the first time we've seen the Scott in the entire tournament. Not necessarily because the Scott's not popular, just because U.S. Forces isn't popular, but still interesting to note. Getting some good shots off on the enemy infantry, though. And it looks like the Axis have spotted the fuel cache up here, and that's probably going to get taken out. I don't think that this vehicle crew is going to be sufficient to stop them. Ooh, unless they get more bazooka snipes, then who knows what might happen. Scott continuing to bombard enemy infantry from behind its position here by the house. Snipers also repositioning with targets, I guess. Meanwhile, down here in the south, it looks like these folks grenadiers should be fine. I think that utility car could afford to get into slightly closer range against those conscripts, though.
Let's go.
Not sure what those stern pioneers are thinking. G43 Panzer Fusiliers moving up. The fuel cache has been destroyed. Riflemen making a push for the central victory point once again.
Hold your ground. Taking effective fire. Panzer Fusiliers assigned to the front.
Stuka firing. And I guess that was pretty much just to destroy that building. I'm not sure if that even really... No, that didn't even really get anything. He really needs to be more accurate with those Stuka barrages. That's twice that he's fired now and had no impact. It's really quite important to have the maximum possible impact with your indirect fire units. This Scott's actually doing quite nicely, just kind of sitting right here. Oh, wow! That was unfortunate for those Volksgrenadiers. Pop from those Scots and the whole squad goes down. And the Scott really is just an awesome unit against massed infantry strategies. They think that they're going to be fighting Panzer Fusiliers in massive quantities probably, so I think the Scott is definitely a good call. The Jackson, I think he got the Jackson first, kind of as a safety net for his Scots later on. This kind of explains him going Jackson first. That would explain why he didn't get a Sherman, because he was planning on making 2 Scots to deal with infantry, and then the Jackson kind of just forms a defensive deterrent so that a Puma can't go hunting for those Scots without considerable risk to itself. If you take a look at Ciez, he has a lot of resources right now. He must be saving for maybe he plans on making like a ton of KV-1s or something. I'm not sure. He's probably gonna make a B4, so that's gonna be a bunch of things. Yep, okay, wow. B4 all immediately getting constructed, KV-1 also getting called in simultaneously, and some resources immediately drop back down. Probably going to be going with another KV-1 soon as well. Oh, he just canceled the B4. Because there's an M20 utility car harassing him. Interesting. He did get a refund, though. And the Jackson is moving to counter-harass. And that B4 is in a pretty forward position. Like that, I think that's definitely in range of getting decrewed by the Stuka, but I guess he wants to put it up close so that he can reach this battle group headquarters, maybe even reach the Stuka. I guess we can see its range. It'll be, honestly, it can almost reach the enemy HQ, really, so. should be able to make good use of that as long as they can keep it alive.
The sector is at risk.
Scott's continuing to fire. They just continue to bleed. He's putting them in really annoying positions here for his enemy to deal with. Not very easy for them to circle around and kill them without putting some of their own units at great risk, but they can easily just fire over all of these obstacles. And they also have quite a high rate of fire. So while their scatter can be quite large, sometimes you get lucky and a squad just goes down. We also have the KV-8 moving up. Ooh, the house collapses. Oh, and a B4 shot follows up. I don't think the B4 hit anything though. Although that house isn't going to last much longer under Scott fire. Meanwhile, down here, Oversold on harassing the fuel. Looks like they're still prioritizing resources over victory points. The victory point situation is not particularly urgent for either team just yet. Oh, full Volkswagen squad goes down to those snipers. I think he wasn't quite watching. Oh no, the Kugelwagen also got caught by the Jackson. And it was not able to survive a Jackson shot. Which just goes to show that the Kugelwagen needs buffs. Definitely needs buffs. Panzer Fusiliers being forced back by the KV-1. There is indeed a second KV-1 on the field now. So clearly he was saving up all of his resources to start calling in. Probably just going to start calling in these for the rest of the game. He's pop capped at the moment though, so he doesn't really need to be all that careful with his tanks. He can just throw them at the enemy and have two more to call in afterwards. And I think that that's something important to keep in mind when you're floating a ton of resources, is that unit preservation actually becomes less important. You need to trade, basically. You want to trade with your opponent once you're floating. That way he will lose things and you will pretty much be in the exact same situation once you call in replacement units. Of course, the other side of that is you lose veterancy when you take losses. So it's important to weigh all your options. Moving up on these Volksgrenadiers, trying to crush, but the KV-1's not a very good tank for crushing. All he really did is expose his rear armor with that maneuver. The Jagdpanzer also moving down with support from a Puma. Ooh, nice rifle grenade by those riflemen, going to render that Puma pretty much irrelevant in the engagement here, although the Jagdpanzer is still a pretty significant threat. Lots of Shrek shots bouncing. Ooh, squad could go down. Meanwhile, over here, the Scots just continue to be, really annoying for those infantry to deal with. We also have a P-47 getting called in on that Jagdpanzer, but the first rocket strike just does nothing. And, wow, these tanks are going in way too hard on that Jagdpanzer. There's no way it's going to survive this. Oh, that rifle squad is still hanging around in the area and gets a shot off. P-47 rockets getting called in too. Pretty heavy damage there. The Jacksons need to chase and finish the job. There it is. Taken out at maximum range by one of the Jacksons. Not a chance. No chance at all of surviving that. Way too much armor for them to contend with right now. Sarantini has 127 fuel. His teammate has 175. Like I said, a lot of fuel got invested into that Puma Stuka combo. Sarantini also spent... I'm not sure what he spent it on. He's built it looks. Jagdpanzer. So yeah, a lot of fuel went down the drain losing that Jagdpanzer. It really hurts. They don't have Panthers. Even Panthers would struggle against two Jacksons though. Struggling to outproduce their opponents. That's kind of because they weren't doing so great for resources in the earlier stages of the game, especially if CS was able to float this much resources. He's certainly, let's take a look. We'll see that Siberian has inflicted a massive amount of damage with his Jacksons and Scots, and both of the allied players are doing really well for kills, whereas Sarantini and Chukonoku are really struggling, and that really shows in their pop cap and their the resource counts right now. Allies kind of pulling back and regrouping and repairing a little bit here. Probably thinking about what they want to do in their next big push. They're poised, I think, at this point to strike at one over commando truck and try and take it out in like one big assault. But first, they're kind of reorganizing their forces here. This is kind of the calm before the storm, where the Axis probably knows that something terrible is about to happen. Just a massive army of tanks is going to be here any minute, and they need to set up defenses right now. Bit of an engagement happening down here. I think the Sturms could win this. Yeah, doing pretty good damage to those conscripts, and they will maintain control of the victory point for just a little more time. Rifles, however, are going for the cutoff. Ooh, nice shot on that Scott by that Raquette mortar there. It's popping smoke to get away. Jackson's circling up around the top. I think they want to take out that looks. Oh, or the Puma. Ooh, abandoned. Wow, look at that. Fortunately, there's plenty of infantry nearby to either scuttle it or recover it, depending on what I think would be most beneficial. There's not much to push away the Jacksons, though, besides one Panzerschreck. And I don't know if it's going to be able to survive an assault while under dual sniper and dual Scott fire. Certainly. Oh my God! Look at. Ooh, he wasn't watching. I think he looked away for a minute. He wasn't expecting a Vet 4 Volksgrenadier squad to get wiped in one volley. Oh, a B4 just fired on something. I think I missed. Didn't really do anything. Fortunately, it looks like they will at the very least be able to recover the Puma, which is a small silver lining, but they're really struggling. They really need a miracle at this point. They need to use this Jagdpanzer perfectly. They need to support it really well, and they need to start whittling down the Allied tanks. We do have a Panther on the field now, fortunately, so that should be helpful. If they can coordinate the Panther and the Jagdpanzer and the freshly repaired Puma against an out-of-position Allied tank, they should be able to start picking them off one by one, but they'll have to execute really well. Three Jacksons now, so Siberian pretty much saved up all of his pop cap in the early game to just build vehicles. 3 fuel caches into just nothing but vehicles. Oh geez, that Panther is so out of position! The very first 2 shots on it just about killed it, and I think a P-47 is getting called in. Oh my gosh! That P-47 is not even necessary though. That Panther stood no chance. Oh, what did I just say about it? It had to be they had to execute with well-positioned and well-supported armor, but that Panther was just sitting in an open field. Oh my gosh, that couldn't have been more disastrous. What a horrible, horrible turn of events. Honestly, after that just happened, I'm not sure there's anything that the Axis is going to be able to do. At least the Yag is vetting up a little bit. Ooh, B4 shot just... I think it might have missed, actually. I'm not sure if that even did anything. The Jagdpanzer might be able to take out that KV-1 though. Not quite. He really can't get too aggressive with that. If he overextends it, it's as good as dead. 3 Jacksons right there. He's also still getting shot at by that P-47. Stuka barrage landed here. Apparently it didn't really get anything though. In the midst of all of this though, the Axis have managed to retake the south. They do have control of the central victory point. They have time. I guess it's not the end of the world that Panther died. I don't know if I think calling in more Pumas is a good idea though against 4 Jacksons. I think Pumas may be a mistake. I almost think that spamming more Panzerschrecks might be a good counter to this, but of course they have to be mindful of the snipers. Have to be mindful of the B4. The B4 only has 2 kills. Which, I guess when they're investing so much in vehicles and not really blobbing infantry around at all, that makes sense. Especially when the Scots are kind of hogging all the glory anyway. B4 can't find any priority targets when the Scots are just wiping them all off the map. 4 Jacksons is going to be sufficient to pretty much shut down all Axis armor at this point, though. They've just amassed so many that it's just going to be really hard. What was that? What happened? Oh, I think that was already dead and they just salvaged it. Okay. I was really confused. Wow, look at that opening volley! Oh, jeez, that Jagdpanzer had no chance. See, that's the thing. Up against 4 Jacksons, you can't really afford to just be like sitting out in the open, unsupported. One volley and you could lose a vehicle, like just get picked off like instantly. And they're just gonna have no problem outproducing you at this point if you just keep losing vehicles one by one here and there. Soon they're gonna have this unstoppable mega tank army, and there's not gonna be anything that you can do. Looks like the Allies are really assaulting in earnest now. Attack ground being used to fire on this strip through the hedge. Stuka Barrage continues to be underwhelming. If we take a look at its kill count, I think it's going to be pretty unimpressive. Yeah, 6 kills. 6 kills at the 30-minute mark is not enough. Schwer HQ is going to go down. And I think it's just a matter of time before the swarm of Allied tanks just steamrolls everything in its path.
Light vehicle destroyed. Under attack! Hold your cover!
And that's going to be it. GG well played, being called by Sarantini and Chukonoku. But not before the moral victory. There are moral victories to be had here. There are moral victories to be had here. The wisdom of Peter. I pass it on to you. Alright, everybody. Thanks for watching. That's going to conclude this matchup, which means that Sarantini and Chukonoku will be eliminated from the Star-Crossed Cup, but Siez and Siberian will get a second chance. They will move on in the tournament, possibly get a chance for a grudge match against All-Stars, depending on how things play out. But who knows? Still have to do a little bit of catch up on the other brackets. So maybe some time before round 3. May not be able to start round 3 tomorrow. Still have some catch up to do tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and that's going to conclude the stream for the night. Thank you.